Imagine this. A young black girl, just waiting for her mom at a fancy bank, suddenly finds herself surrounded by cops. But here's the twist. She's not just any kid. Her mother is the CEO of the bank. What happens next will leave you speechless. Stay tuned to find out how this shocking confrontation turns into a jaw-dropping moment you won't believe. Don't miss it. It was a typical Thursday afternoon at the prestigious Williams Financial Group Bank, a place where the wealthy and powerful gathered for business deals, financial management, and everything in between. The sleek marble floors and towering columns were filled with the hum of important conversations, but little did anyone know, a storm was about to disrupt the calm. In the center of the grand lobby, a young black girl, no older than 12, stood nervously by the entrance. She wore a school uniform, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her eyes darting around the bustling space. The air felt thick with tension, and she looked out of place among the well-dressed businessmen and women. She was only there to meet her mother, a successful CEO who was finishing up a meeting upstairs. But what seemed like a harmless moment quickly took a turn for the worse. The bank manager, a white woman in her late 40s, walked up to the girl with a look of suspicion. "Excuse me, young lady," she said, her voice sharp. "What are you doing here?" Minutes later, the situation escalated in a way that no one could have predicted. Two uniformed police officers arrived at the bank, their heavy boots echoing off the marble floors, sending a ripple of discomfort through the otherwise calm and composed atmosphere. The young girl, now standing small and fragile in front of the towering officers, couldn't believe this was happening to her. She had never been in trouble before, and yet, here she was, being treated as if she were a criminal. Desperation set in as she tried to explain herself once again, her voice trembling with the fear she was trying so hard to hold back. "I'm just waiting for my mom," she said, but the officers weren't listening. Instead, they looked at the manager, who was still standing nearby, her eyes filled with suspicion and disbelief. One of the officers, a man with a hardened face and a stern demeanor, stepped forward and placed a hand firmly on the girl's shoulder. "You need to come with us," he said, his voice cold and devoid of empathy. "We'll sort this out at the station." Tears welled up in the girl's eyes as she realized there was nothing she could do to stop this from happening. She hadn't done anything wrong. Why was this happening to her? In that moment, all she could think of was her mother. Where was she? Just as the situation seemed to be spiraling out of control, the elevator doors opened, and a commanding presence immediately filled the room. A woman stepped out in a sharp black suit, her every stride exuding confidence and authority. The tension in the air seemed to part as she walked toward the commotion at the center of the lobby. It was the girl's mother, none other than the CEO of Williams Financial Group, a woman whose name was synonymous with success and power. Her reputation spanned across industries, with a work ethic that left no room for doubt about her leadership. But what set her apart the most was her unwavering love for her daughter. No one would mess with her child. The moment her eyes landed on her daughter, standing helplessly surrounded by two officers, the CEO's face darkened with fury. Her gaze turned to the officers and then to the manager. "What is going on here?" she demanded, her voice like ice cutting through the tension. The manager, still frozen in disbelief, stammered, She was just loitering. "I called the police because..." Before she could finish, the CE interrupted, her eyes locking onto the manager with burning intensity. "You called the police on my daughter?" Her voice was sharp with incredulity, and the room fell silent. All eyes turned to the confrontation unfolding before them. Turning to her daughter, the CEO immediately wrapped her arms around her, pulling her close in a protective embrace. Her strong, confident figure now stood as a shield between the officers, the manager, and her vulnerable child. With her daughter safely at her side, she turned her gaze to the officers, then shifted to the manager, her expression a controlled fury that sent a clear message. There would be no tolerance for this behavior. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, do you?" she said, her voice calm but piercing. "This is my daughter, and she has every right to be here. I run this bank. If there's a problem with her being here, then perhaps you should be reconsidering your place in this company." The bank manager stood frozen, speechless. The weight of her actions was starting to hit her. She had called the police on the child of the bank's CEO. In that moment, the full gravity of her decision began to sink in. There was no going back, but the CEO wasn't done. Her tone grew even sharper. "You will not only apologize to my daughter, but you will also write a formal apology to me. After that, a full review of your behavior will be conducted. If I hear anything else about this mishandling, I promise you, the consequences will be far worse than this misunderstanding." The silence that followed was deafening. No one dared to speak, and it was clear that this was a moment that would leave a lasting impact on everyone in the room. The following days were filled with intense meetings, apologies, and swift damage control. The bank manager, unable to defend her actions, was immediately suspended as an internal investigation was launched. Behind the scenes, the CEO, with her usual grace and professionalism, worked tirelessly to resolve the situation. While she skillfully handled the fallout, she never lost sight of the most important thing: her daughter. For the young girl, the ordeal left a deep mark. The shock and confusion from being unfairly accused were overwhelming, but in her mother's protective arms, she found solace. Despite the trauma, the experience offered an invaluable lesson for both of them: the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it feels uncomfortable or frightening. As the story spread, it quickly became public knowledge, sparking conversations and stirring emotions across the community. People from all walks of life rallied behind the young girl and her mother, expressing their outrage over the manager's actions. The incident highlighted the deep-rooted biases that still persist in society, especially when it comes to race and prejudice. For the girl and her mother, the lesson went far beyond this one incident. They understood that true power, when wielded with integrity and justice, had the strength to challenge the systemic injustices that continue to plague the world. And as the girl looked up at her mother, admiration in her eyes, she realized one undeniable truth: she would never allow anyone to underestimate her again. Hey, before you go, don't forget to join the Black Visionaries family by hitting that subscribe button. If you think this story was eye-opening, drop a like, leave your thoughts in the comments, and share this video to spread the word. We're building a movement, and we need you with us. Stay tuned for more jaw-dropping stories that challenge the norm. See you in the next one.